Hi children, we move on to our next chapter in chemistry, chapter 6, combustion and flame. In your textbook it is page number 64, of your NCERT textbook, chapter 6, combustion and flame. So let's start with combustion. Let's see what is combustion. Last year and also in the previous chapter, one of the previous chapters, we learned about burning of a magnesium ribbon. What happens when a magnesium ribbon is burned? It burns with a dazzling white light and releasing. When a magnesium ribbon is shown in the flame, it burns with a dazzling white light and producing a white ash of magnesium oxide. So when a magnesium ribbon is heated, it combines with oxygen of the air. It combines with oxygen of the air and it produces magnesium oxide. And in this reaction, heat and light are produced, isn't it? You get a dazzling white light and also heat is also produced. Okay, such reactions are known as combustion reaction. Such reactions, so burning of a magnesium ribbon, that is the most familiar example that you know. So that is an example of combustion. So it is nothing but, combustion is nothing but a chemical process. It is a chemical process. Why? Because magnesium combines with oxygen of the air. Chemical reaction is taking place there. A chemical process in which a substance reacts with oxygen reacts with oxygen to give off heat is known as combustion. Production of light is not mandatory in combustion, but heat should be produced. Okay, so a chemical process in which a substance reacts with oxygen to give off heat is known as combustion. So burning of a magnesium ribbon is an example of a combustion reaction. Then carbon, in the previous chapter we learned about burning of fuels like petrol, diesel, kerosene, etc. All those are examples of a combustion reaction where the fuel combines with oxygen of the air. Carbon of the fuel burns in oxygen and heat is produced. So that is combustion. It is very important. A chemical process in which a substance reacts with oxygen to give off heat. So in all combustion is actually a scientific term for burning. In normal terms we call it as burning. What is actually burning? It's a chemical process. Burning is a chemical process, and in burning a substance reacts with oxygen and it gives off heat. In most of the combustion reactions, light is also produced. But production of light is not mandatory there. If heat is produced, that is enough. Because substances like coal doesn't produce light. It just glows. It glows with a red light. Red glow is produced, but no flame is there. But heat is produced. So production of light is not mandatory, but heat should be given off. So that is combustion. Burning of paper, burning of matchstick, burning of LPG, fuels like LPG, petrol, diesel, all these are examples of combustion reaction. A chemical process in which a substance reacts with oxygen to give off heat is known as combustion. Now we can classify substances to materials can be classified into combustible materials and non-combustible materials. Materials can be classified into two types, combustible and non-combustible materials. So what are combustible materials? Materials that undergo combustion. Materials that undergo combustion are known as combustible materials. Examples are materials that undergo combustion. Wood is a combustible material. Paper is a combustible material. Then petrol is a combustible material. Diesel, all these are combustible materials. So materials that undergo combustion are known as combustible materials like wood, paper, petrol, diesel, etc. Now what are non-combustible? Materials that do not undergo combustion. Materials that do not undergo combustion are said to be non-combustible substances. Examples are glass, iron, stone, etc. You can find more examples. Okay. So, what is combustion? A chemical process in which a substance reacts with oxygen to give off heat is known as combustion. Materials can be classified into two types, combustible materials and non-combustible materials. Materials that undergo combustion are said to be combustible materials like wood, paper, LPG, petrol, diesel, etc. And the materials that do not undergo combustion are said to be non-combustible materials like paper, glass, stone, iron, etc. Okay. Now, what are fuels? You are familiar with fuels. Petrol is a fuel, LPG is a fuel, LPG is a domestic fuel, petrol, diesel, etc. are automobile fuels. Now, how can you define a fuel? Fuels are combustible materials, isn't it? Fuels are combustible materials that produce heat at a reasonable cost. Fuels are combustible materials that produce heat at a reasonable cost. So, all combustible substances, all combustible materials cannot be used as fuels. Those combustible materials which produce heat at a reasonable cost, they are used as fuels. So, fuels are combustible materials that produce heat at a reasonable cost. Please keep in mind, all combustible materials are not used as fuels. Now, fuels can be classified into three types: solid fuels, liquid fuels. Depending upon their physical state, fuels can be classified into three: solid fuels, liquid fuels and gaseous fuels. Examples of solid fuels are wood, then cow dung, cakes. Even now there are villages where this LPG and all has not reached. So, there people dry cow dung and make them in the shape of a cake. The cow dung cakes are made by drying the cow dung, and that is used for cooking food. That is used as a fuel for cooking food and all. The disadvantage is that a lot of smoke is released into the atmospheric air, thereby causing air pollution. So, wood and cow dung cakes are example for solid fuels. Liquid fuels, kerosene, mananna, then diesel, petrol. These are liquid fuels. Then gaseous fuels, as you know, LPG, CNG, biogas. So, children, please don't consider LPG as a liquid fuel. LPG is liquefied petroleum gas. It is a gas which is compressed to a very high pressure. It is compressed at a very high pressure. It is liquefied and filled inside the cylinder. So, once the knob is opened, the pressure is released, it changes to gas. So, what burns is gas, only inside the cylinder it is in the liquid state. So, LPG is a gaseous fuel, liquefied petroleum gas. It is petroleum gas in the liquid form. So, it is gas. LPG is a gas. Then CNG, compressed natural gas. Then biogas. These are examples of gaseous fuels. So, what are fuels? Fuels are combustible materials which are used to produce heat at a reasonable cost. So, all combustible materials cannot be used as fuels. Only those materials which produce heat at a reasonable cost are used as fuels. And based on their physical state, fuels are classified into three: solid fuels, liquid fuels and gaseous fuels. And examples you have to learn: solid fuels, wood, cow dung cakes; liquid fuels, petrol, diesel and kerosene; and gaseous fuels, LPG, CNG and biogas. Now, the next topic is types of combustion. Types of combustion. First one is rapid combustion. In rapid combustion, A combustible material burns rapidly, producing heat and light. Both heat and light are produced in rapid combustion. Most of the familiar forms of combustion like burning of paper, burning of wood, burning of petrol, diesel, all these come under rapid combustion. So, most of the familiar combustion reactions are examples of rapid combustion. So, in rapid combustion, a combustible material burns rapidly with the evolution of heat and producing energy in the form of heat and light. Burning of a matchstick, burning of LPG, burning of paper, all these are examples of rapid combustion. Combustible material burns rapidly, producing heat and light. So, that is rapid combustion. Second one is spontaneous combustion. In this combustion, the combustible material suddenly bursts into flame without any apparent cause. Here there is no apparent cause, without any apparent cause. So, ignition, the heating is not taking place here. When the substance comes in contact with atmospheric oxygen, it starts burning. Such combustion reactions are known as spontaneous combustion. Example is burning of phosphorus in air at room temperature. This we have learned in metals and non-metals. Phosphorus is a highly reactive non-metal. It catches fire when it is exposed to atmospheric air. So, there is no heating. When it comes in contact with oxygen, burning take place. Such combustion reactions where there is no apparent cause, heating or ignition is not given, substance catches fire. When it comes in contact with oxygen, burning take place. Such combustion reactions are known as spontaneous combustion. So, it is the type of combustion in which the material suddenly bursts into flames without an apparent cause. Without an apparent cause is very important. All the type of combustion, the substance bursts into flame, but here there is no apparent cause, there is no heating, there is no ignition, the substance catches fire when it comes in contact with oxygen. So, the type of combustion in which a combustible material suddenly bursts into flame without any apparent cause, that is known as spontaneous combustion. Example is burning of phosphorus in air at room temperature. The next one is, third type is explosion. So, this is the type of combustion that takes place suddenly with the evolution of a large amount of gas. The type of combustion that takes place suddenly with the evolution of a large amount of gas. In explosion, energy is released in the form of heat, light and sound. In other combustions we get, some combustion reactions we get energy in the form of heat only, some type we get heat and light. Here heat, light and sound energy are produced with along with a lot of gases. Examples are fireworks. Fireworks are examples of explosion. Then bursting of bomb. This is another example of explosion. I hope you understood. Here the combustion reaction take place suddenly with the evolution of a large amount of gas. And also in this explosion reactions, energy is released not only in the form of heat and light, but also sound is also produced. Examples are fireworks and bursting of bombs. Okay, so there are three types of combustion: rapid combustion, spontaneous combustion and explosion. Rapid combustion, the combustible material burns rapidly, evolving heat and light. Most of the common combustion reactions are examples of rapid combustion. In spontaneous combustion, the substance bursts into flames rapidly, spontaneously with no apparent cause, and in explosion take place suddenly with the evolution of a large amount of gas, and also energy is produced in the form of heat, light and sound. So, that is all. Thank you children.